The Ark of the Covenant, an all-powerful artifact thought lost to history. But is it possible that the Ark never left Jerusalem at all? Now, a pioneering team of experts is on a quest, searching caverns.
There are passages in here are blocked. We don't know what they might be hiding.
Exploring ancient waterways. And investigating sacred graveyards.
The last people to see the Ark of the Covenant were buried right here.
Ark hunters may be on the cusp of finding the most famous treasure in history. After centuries of searching, its hiding place has been narrowed down to a handful of locations. Using the latest technology and following new leads, we can reveal the secrets of the lost Ark. For hundreds of years, Temple Mount in Jerusalem was home of one of the most sought-after yet elusive objects in history, the Ark of the Covenant. This chest is so coveted because it is said to contain the Word of God. The Ark vanishes from history in the 6th century BC, right before the Babylonian sack of Jerusalem. Presumed hidden, details of what became of it are scarce. But the story of what happened to the city is well known.
The sackings of Jerusalem and the destructions of the temple were really the holocausts of their day. The descriptions that we have of the first destruction in Lamentations are incredibly violent, incredibly brutal.
Imagine what it must have been like for the priests in the Temple of Jerusalem to look down from their high vantage point to see the Babylonians coming. So they seize the Ark of the Covenant from the Holy of Holies. They have to take it out down into those dark, dank, horrible tunnels, taking this precious item and finding somewhere desperately to hide it.
The quest for the Ark beneath the holy city of Jerusalem has long intrigued explorers and archaeologists. And this search is bigger than any one person. Today, a team of Ark historians are scouring the cisterns and tunnels on a new quest. '21st century Jerusalem is a bustling modern city, home to almost 1 million people. The task of finding the Ark is made harder by the unique history of the Middle East. Many different factions have ruled over Jerusalem, and the city has been destroyed and rebuilt many times over. All of these layers of archaeology are woven into the city's foundations. Radiating from Temple Mount, a maze of ancient tunnels, drainage channels, and caves crisscross the city.
There's a lot of cave in Jerusalem. There's a lot of tunnels underground, a lot. You can say 100, you can say 500, you can say 1,000, no one knows exactly.
The fact that the Ark was in Jerusalem and could still be under there is what makes Jerusalem, in many ways, so special and holy.
Rabbi Barry has studied the scriptures his whole life. The quest for the Ark beneath Jerusalem has always fascinated him. But with all the construction work taking place in this ever-evolving city, historic areas are ripped up every day. The clock is ticking to uncover the trail of the Ark before it is lost forever. Barry's knowledge of the Bible means he knows where to begin his search.
In the Hebrew Bible, it says that King Josiah, who was a good king, had a prophecy that the Babylonians were going to come and conquer the city. And they say that he hid the Ark under the city somewhere because he knew what was coming.
The Ark never left town. there is a chance that there was already a chamber that was prepared in advance. Josiah understood things are going to head south pretty quickly. So Josiah might be the guy to prepare the groundwork, literally, to conceal the ark.
When we're trying to speculate where could have Josiah hidden the ark, we have a huge cavity underground. It's in fact over 2 acres in size, and we know that it's been used for thousands and thousands of years as a quarry.
Barry has been given special permission to start his search in this huge underground quarry that could be where King Josiah hid the ark. It runs the length of 5 city blocks below the Muslim quarter, stretching towards Temple Mount. It is known as Zedekiah's Cave. Zedekiah was Josiah's successor as king of Judah, and is said to have fled the Babylonians through this cave. Might he have taken the ark with him?
Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, was hauled off to Babylon, where his sons were killed before his eyes, and then he was blinded and kept prisoner for the rest of his life, so that would be the thing that he would always see. And the legend says that this spring is actually Zedekiah's tears over his lost kingdom.
But if the Babylonians could capture the ruler of Jerusalem, might they have stolen the ark?
When Jerusalem is taken by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, we have a detailed list of the looted objects taken by the Babylonians from the Jewish temple. A nice detailed list, but something's missing. The Ark of the Covenant isn't mentioned.
The ark, the holiest object we have, doesn't appear in any of those lists. It just, poof, disappears.
That probably means that someone hid it before, or snuck it out of the city to somewhere. Could it still be found? Perhaps.
We're now under what is currently the Muslim quarter of the old city of Jerusalem, moving closer towards the Temple Mount and closer towards the area where the ark might have been hidden. We're going to go beyond where visitors are normally allowed to go.
Barry is searching for a small entrance, plunging deeper underground, that he hopes may lead to Temple Mount.
This looks like a dead end. But I think I see something back here. Yeah, there's our shaft. It's pretty dark and narrow down there.
Could this be the shaft that leads Barry to the ark? On the other side, the tunnels have been dug differently.
We get down here, it's wide space but short space. We're going to be bent over a bit as we're trying to get further into this next layer that's under the area we've been exploring. We've now come into a large room, and there are openings just all over the place. I'm not sure which way to go.
These These caves and tunnels were originally quarried before the Babylonian invasion in the 6th century BC, but have been added to by many factions over the centuries, including the mysterious Knights Templar.
Knight Templars during the Crusader period built this as decoys, so that if anyone was chasing them, they wouldn't know which was the right passage, where'd they go. And we don't know where some of these passages could go. Maybe one of them leads to Jericho that Zedekiah took. Maybe one of them leads under the temple.
The Knights Templar were a 12th century crusading order headquartered on Temple Mount. Many have speculated that their wealth and power came from a supernatural source. Could the Knights Templar have used Zedekiah's cave as a hiding place for their treasures? As he searches deeper in the tunnels, Barry comes across a surprising structure.
So in here, we have another example of something built by the Knight Templars. Sort of surprising to find a man-made structure this far back in the cave, this far down, which leads us to wonder what else could be hiding under these caves, underground, under the city.
We just see walls constructed in the middle of the cave, and the mind boggles. What's the purpose? What's the point?
Just past the Templar wall, Barry spies something intriguing.
So we're getting deeper back into the cave. Wait, I see something looks like a box over there. Yeah, it's definitely a box. It looks like some kind of good crate. Yeah. This side is kind of rotted out.
The Ark of the Covenant was a large sacred vessel with 2 golden cherubim on top looking at each other with great wings, and within it was the 10 Commandments given by God to Moses.
It's made out of acacia, the only tree you can find in the wilderness. It was 2.5 cubits. This is a cubit, okay? 2.5 cubits by a cubit and a half. And it was laid with gold, some thin layer of gold over it, and then rings on the sides or on the bottom where poles could be put in so it could be carried.
Unfortunately, this box and its contents does not match the description of the Ark in scriptures. But there are other areas of this huge cavern that could be more promising.
Huh. It looks like it leads to another area that's a blocked off passageway of some sort. So it looks like someone built something in here, but it doesn't go very far. There's another more man-made material, in fact, including a couple of pillars looking like they're supporting an arch, which is just like what they had in the temple. And this was definitely blocked off intentionally by people. Maybe it heads up towards the temple. Maybe this is the route that they took to bring the ark down into this cave through the many passageways.
The quarrying of Zedekiah's cave over the centuries has left some parts dangerously unstable.
If you look above this pole, there's a crack in the rocks up there. So if they weren't supporting it, it's possible someone could be down in there digging, and that chunk of rock could break off and land on somebody, harming or possibly even killing them. You'd never be able to find every area that's under the city. If the ark was under tons of debris another few hundred yards behind this, it's unlikely anyone is ever going to dig that out and find it. It really could be back in there somewhere.
One-third of Zedekiah's cave is still unexcavated, and the areas walled off by the Templars may still contain undiscovered treasures. To prove conclusively if there is any sign of the Ark here, further excavation is needed. But Barry isn't the only Ark detective on the hunt. Historians Marty Friedlander and Isle Mirren are experts on ancient Jerusalem. They have met with archaeologist Danny Herman to discuss where beneath the city the Ark may lie.
What is your take on that? What do you think? Where should we look for the Ark of the Lord?
If it was kept in Jerusalem, hidden there, it should be underneath the Temple Mount, I would believe. I mean, imagine if you're hearing of an enemy approaching the city and you quickly need to get rid of the Ark. Put it somewhere safe, right under the Temple Mount could be one option.
I think we have, what, about 40 underground cisterns.
Yes.
Under the Temple Mount. It's amazing.
So that means that there's a whole network of possible hiding spots.
Many of the caves and passages below Jerusalem owe their existence to the city's ancient plumbing system.
We do not have a lot of water here, so when it does rain, you better store that water. Otherwise, you're going to be going dry next August, September, and October until it starts raining again. In the area around the temple, there's lots of cisterns, and some of them would be joined together. You can spend a whole day walking through cisterns and tunnels and escape routes underground, never seeing sunlight. And the archaeology, with every passing week practically, we're turning up more and more and more.
Zedekiah's cave is an ancient quarry and not part of the city's drainage system. Might there be other clues in the cisterns and channels that were originally constructed to supply water to the people, but over the centuries used for other purposes? Danny Herman is an expert on ancient Jerusalem, and he believes that the Ark might be hidden in one of the city's subterranean waterways. Just north of Temple Mount is the site of the Pool of Bethesda, which is linked to one of the great miracles of the New Testament. It is said to be the site where Jesus cured a man of his paralysis. To commemorate this miracle, a church was built, the Catholic St. Anne's. But beneath the church lie a set of cisterns that were built before the time of Jesus and have yet to be fully explored. And they are said to connect to Temple Mount.
Till the 1930s, people were relying on cisterns in their courtyards. You had tunnels of aqueducts feeding those cisterns in some cases, and big water reservoirs, open pools, okay, and tactical tunnels for escape. Any one of these underground cavities could also potentially be a hiding place for an Ark.
St. Anne's Church was built almost 900 years ago. But the drainage channels below date back thousands of years. What secrets might Danny discover?
Whoa, there's still water here. Oh my God. Look at the size of this. Whoa. Who knows how long these water have been standing here? This underground reservoir is just amazing. It seems like it's been forgotten by time. It was discovered about a century ago, but it seems that no one has entered it ever since. And such a water reservoir and the channels that connected to the temple were only 500 feet away. They could have been used also to sneak out of the temple the treasures in time of trouble.
This cistern links directly to Temple Mount. If the high priest did escape with the ark, could he have brought it here?
We know there was an ark. We have a detailed description of it in the Bible. We know that it disappeared. We know for a fact that this tunnel is not the only one entering the temple. There were a few that were discovered in archaeological research. If one of these tunnels were used for hiding treasures and it has not been discovered, that means that the ark is still hiding somewhere underneath the Temple Mount or its surroundings. Just the thought of this is mind-boggling.
The tunnels beneath St. Anne's Church remain flooded and will need to be drained before they reveal their secrets. But if the ark traveled through the city's water system to escape capture, St. Anne's Church is not the only place that might hold clues. In Jerusalem, there are dozens of other subterranean locations that have not been fully excavated. On the south side of Temple Mount lies another underground location that holds many mysteries: the Gihon Spring. Eli Shukran is an expert archaeologist of 25 years and has his own theory on what happened to the ark. Eli thinks that the ark was spirited through these very tunnels over 2,000 years ago. He has found something in a channel that leads from the Gihon Spring that he believes may have belonged to the guardians of the ark.
Jerusalem started around the Gihon Spring, around the living water spring, where we are in the city of David. And this tunnel that built before 3,800 years ago take us to the spring.
Jerusalem would not exist without this essential spring, and it is inextricably linked to the Ark of the Covenant.
Gihon Spring is where King David kept the Ark of the Covenant, and he was not permitted by God to build the temple that his son Solomon would eventually construct. So he kept the Ark there for safekeeping.
There was a tunnel from Gihon Spring to Temple Mount, so they probably took the Ark underground. The priests took it probably to the temple. But of course, they'd got this tunnel ready, so during any sieges that took place, they could quite easily have taken it back via the tunnel from Temple Mount to Gihon Spring again, because they knew it was a safe place. So that is a possibility that it could actually have been hidden again later at Gihon Spring.
Between about 1909 and 1911, an intrepid British explorer called Montague Parker dug around the Gihon Springs, and you can still see some of his tunnels.
He's being bankrolled by something like 50,000 British pounds, which would be the equivalent today of millions of dollars. And he says, I am going to produce Solomon's scepter, Solomon's crown. I'm going to find the vessels of the temple.
Unfortunately for him, his quest to find the treasure of King Solomon and the Ark of the Covenant was cut short when the Ottoman Turkish authorities got wind of what he was up to, and he had to hightail it pretty quickly out of Jerusalem.
Although Montague Parker did not find any trace of the Ark at Gihon Spring, Eli has discovered an incredible clue in the drainage channels leading from it. It's a lead that could place the keeper of the Ark in these tunnels. the high priest of Jerusalem. It was in this very channel that Eli made his discovery. And excavation work continues to this day.
You can hear the workers above us. They're still doing excavation above us. But here we're in the drainage channel. We can see how they cut the bedrock. You can see the foundation rock, and you can see how they cut it. And here, the drainage channel continue to the north. But this is the corner of the Temple Mount, cutting in the rock, here where we are.
Eli believes that the ark came through this tunnel in antiquity, spirited away from Temple Mount when Jerusalem was threatened by the Babylonians. This channel cuts from Jerusalem's main water source, the Gihon Spring, all the way north past Temple Mount.
If you're looking from here, we can see the stone above us. You can see the light of the sun. This is the street from the Second Temple period, before 2,000 years ago. See how deeper we are in the dirt, how deeper we are in the excavation. And you can see the arches above us. You can see the boulder that was falling from the western wall.
These channels were used by citizens of Jerusalem over the centuries to escape the brutality of invaders.
We are standing in the place where the Jewish people was hiding, eating, dark, afraid from what's going to happen to them, smelling the smoking of Jerusalem, the fire of Jerusalem, destroying of the temple.
Could the guardian of the ark, the high priest of Jerusalem, have also hidden here? In these channels, Eli unearthed an incredible artifact.
We saw something gold, and it looked like a ball, and that's it. And then I was shocked a little bit, and then I heard the sound, and then I say, it's a bell. Who was going with a gold bell in Jerusalem? The only one that we know from the Bible. It was the high priest. This is the golden bell that maybe came from the high priest's robe.
There were 4 sacred articles of clothing unique to the high priest. One of these was a sleeveless blue robe, fringed with small golden bells. The book of Exodus says these bells had to ring when the high priest entered the Holy of Holies on the Day of Atonement, lest he die.
When we're talking about the First Temple period, we know that the Holy Ark of the Covenant was in the Holy of the Holy. We know that the Babylonians did not take with them the Holy Ark of the Covenant. This is the only finding that we have today that was in the Holy of the Holy. So where is the Holy Ark of the Covenant? Is missing, is hiding somewhere. We don't know where.
But would it have been possible for the high priest to have physically taken the ark through these narrow drainage channels?
When we talk about the size of the Holy Ark, we talk about 2.5 feet. When we talk about this drainage channel, you can do it, but if you continue, it's problematic because then we have 1 foot. Maybe we have another drainage channel wider than what we have here. Maybe there they use it for the Ark of the Covenant. We don't know.
The evidence of Eli's discovery suggests that the high priest might have taken the ark through these tunnels before the city fell to the Babylonians. But if the ark wasn't hidden here, where else could it be under this ancient city? Because of its location and religious significance, Jerusalem has been fought over by armies from different cultures for millennia. Even today, the old city is split into Muslim, Jewish, Christian, and Armenian quarters. Any one of these groups would want to get their hands on the ark and keep it from the others. But one expert thinks that the ark might not have fallen into any of these factions' hands. Ben Mantel is something of a maverick archaeologist who thinks people have been searching in the wrong place. He believes the ark isn't still buried beneath Jerusalem, but was taken from the city and hidden in the vast graveyard on the Mount of Olives, just outside the city walls.
The probability of the Ark of the Covenant hidden somewhere below the tombs of Mount Olives would probably be one of the first locations to look. Let's go check the Mount of Olives. Let's go see the Kidron Valley and what's waiting for us there.
The Ark of the Covenant has yet to be found beneath Jerusalem. Could it be that the Ark was rushed through the ancient cisterns and tunnels of Jerusalem by the high priest to a place of safety? And if so, could it be found in the Kidron Valley?
We are located right now in the Muslim cemetery that is basically built adjacent to the Kidron Valley. If you actually examine where we are right now, the wall to my right is in fact the wall both of the old city of Jerusalem, but also of Temple Mount. And so we know that this cemetery, which is a few hundred years old, is probably concealing below it everything that is still hidden from 2,000 and 3,000 years ago.
The Kidron Valley is almost 200 feet deep and acted as an excellent natural defensive ditch on Jerusalem's eastern flank. It is also the site of the city's oldest graveyard, which extends up the Mount of Olives. At the bottom of the valley lie tombs that date from at least 2,800 years ago. Above this, there are burials from the Roman era, which have been dated to the 1st century AD. Further up the valley are modern graves, some of which have been built on top of ancient tombs. The Kidron Valley and the Mount of Olives are still used as burial sites to this day.
If we try to imagine the days when the Ark is making its way out of the city of Jerusalem, the main gate towards the desert, towards the east, is the one behind me. This would have been the main gate for anyone trying to take anything in and out of Temple Mount, especially if they want to take it into hiding.
The huge graveyard of the Kidron Valley starts right at the city wall. If the Ark was taken out of Jerusalem toward the desert, perhaps one of these tombs contains more than bones.
If you had to hide the ark quickly because an enemy is approaching the city, one possibility is to put it in some sort of a cave. Maybe one of these tombs were used to conceal the ark as it was in time of emergency.
These monumental structures that we're seeing right here are the royal tombs that were used both by the royal family and by the most prominent priesthood families. This is where they buried their dead. The large structure that we're seeing outside really is only a commemorating spot, but the actual burial, especially in the First Temple period, would be done in a cave down below. The possibility of the Ark being here, somewhere in the Kidron Valley, is a very probable option. The safest place to be, not in the city itself, but right outside, would be in the main burial sites of the city, such as the place that we're in right now.
There are over 100,000 graves in the Kidron Valley. Benna thinks that the Ark could still be hidden inside one of these sealed tombs.
The person who died would be placed inside the tomb, and then the actual tomb would have been covered and concealed. Of course, the moment that a tomb like this gets concealed, gets covered, it becomes hidden. And unless the members of the family have an interest to open it again, or perhaps use it again for burial, there's no reason in the world why anyone should be or could be able to even know its location.
One recent archaeological find in the valleys outside Jerusalem might be the best lead yet on the ark's whereabouts. In the 20th century, there was an amazing discovery. A number of tombs which appear to belong to holy men. Might the people buried here have known the fate of the ark? Or if it was taken out of the city by the high priest, could it have been buried with him? Bene Mantel believes that the burial caves at Ketef Hinnom, to the southwest of the Old City, contain some vital clues to the fate of the ark.
The burial caves here are dating back all the way to the First Temple period, specifically, by the way, to the end of the First Temple period, which is exactly the time frame that we know about the ark for the last time. The Bible doesn't give us any information of what happens to it later, but this is exactly the moment that these caves were used for burial by the people of Jerusalem.
This family tomb is an example of many hundreds of other resting places in the Kidron Valley. But is there more to these tombs than meets the eye?
There seems to be another deep cavity deep behind these tombs. These cavities aren't always there, and so they're very easy to miss. But that's where the treasure would have been hidden. If we just look inside, we can see this is a pretty sizable cave deep under the burial cave itself. And so make no mistakes, we are currently in a cave, and that cave has a separate cave that was dug beneath it.
In 1979, during the excavation of this site, renowned Israeli archaeologist Gabriel Barkai discovered something remarkable. He uncovered 2 small silver scrolls, less than an inch across. They would have been worn as amulets around the neck. Once unraveled and deciphered, researchers realized they were inscribed with a priestly blessing.
The amulets that were discovered here during the excavation offer us a very unique understanding of who is buried here. First and foremost, there's no doubt about it, we're talking about Jews who are buried here. Secondly, and probably just as important, is that we can assume that these are priests.
So could this be the grave of the high priest who is said to have hidden the ark?
We have a burial site that dates back to that exact time when the ark is lost, but not only that, I want to look for it in a place that would possibly be linked to the people who actually took it and concealed it. The priests were tasked to be the guardians of anything worship, including all the holy vessels. And so there's a very high probability that the last people who ever actually had an opportunity to visually see the Ark of the Covenant were the people who were buried right here.
Unfortunately, these graves were looted in antiquity. Along with Bene's theory, there are numerous possibilities for the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant beneath Jerusalem. From Zedekiah's cave, to the cisterns and drainage passages that supplied the ancient city. Or maybe somewhere closer to the site of the First Temple, beneath the Muslim Dome of the Rock on Temple Mount.
Unfortunately, today, excavating on Temple Mount is simply not an option. The sites that we're seeing here are holy sites to all 3 monotheist religions, and so the status quo on the mountain does not allow any archaeological excavation. However, if we could, there's really no telling what we would be discovering below.
Since the 19th century, there haven't been any real research done on the Temple Mount or beneath it. And unfortunately, we're very limited in research that we can do today. First of all, Jerusalem is a living city. You can't just clear people out of their homes.
What we really need, I think, is basically a GPR survey of the Temple Mount, systematically showing us what's underneath, and that will be perhaps the beginning of a prospect of a new research.
Think of a cave the roof collapses. We don't see the mouth of the cave. And then, because of some construction activity, they're going to start clearing the rubble of a collapsed cave, and they'll find, there's stuff that we haven't seen.
It is hard to know if the Ark of the Covenant will ever be found under Jerusalem. It's possible that it was spirited away to elsewhere in the Holy Land. Documents also point to it being taken to Europe or even Africa. One thing we do know is that if it were discovered and we could reveal some of the secrets of the Ark, the world of archaeology and religion would be changed forever.
I think we'd actually be better off not finding it. And the reason we're better off not finding it is, as it is, it's a mystery. As it is, it's something it can be powerful, it can be awesome, it can have all of these powers. If we find it and put it on display somewhere, it's just an object.
What do you think will happen if we found the Ark of the Lord?
All hell would break loose.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
Will it cause a plague again? Will it cause the walls of Jerusalem to collapse? L'chaim for wild speculations.
And scholarship.
And scholarship. Amen.
Amen.